Thank you. We are live, yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for attending, whether virtually or in person, our regular board meeting of Thursday, May 15th. I would like to call the meeting to open. Could I have a roll call, please?
Armato?
Here.
Bearden?
Here.
Heidel?
Here.
Hilton? Kancianic? Here. Johnson? Here. Klein?
Here.
Lawrence?
Here.
Spence? Present. 8 present, 1 absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. A moment of silence, please. And the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving right into presentations. Mr. Rodriguez, please.
Thank you, Madam President. As board members know or perhaps will remember, the month of May is a time where we celebrate some programs that are happening. And as you can see by our guests, we've got some of our students here. But I am not going to steal any of the thunder of Executive Director Joe Rasevich. Instead, I will ask him to do his annual presentation and tell you a little bit about what's going on at the foundation. Mr. Rasevich.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Good evening, board. Thank you all for inviting me to be here. This is one of my favorite nights of the year. We get to celebrate this year's graduating class of the early college program. Just to give you a little bit of history of the program to remind you about it. The program started in 2014. The class of 2025, who is sitting in front of you right now, is our 11th cohort. There are 134 students, including these that are sitting here and one that's absent tonight. 134 have gone through the program, and unfortunately that number is wrong there. When I typed, I missed the 2, so a combined total of 2,327 plus credits have been earned since it started back in 2014. The reason I put plus there is we really weren't keeping good records of the cohort 1 and 2. So I don't have how many credits they have earned. So that amount is from cohort 3 through cohort 11 that's here. Out of the 134, 132 students have been enrolled in higher education, either a 2 or 4-year school or military service. So that's about a 97% success rate of having the students go in. The tuition paid year to date on this is $580,280. Textbooks for this past year, this is our 3rd or 4th year of paying the textbooks, was $10,228. That number, especially the first number that I gave you, is significant when I talk to you in just a few minutes. 7 students are going to be graduating. There are 5 here tonight that are going to introduce themselves. They've earned a total of 168 credits at a cost of $12,880 in tuition. While tuition costs are going up, for dual enrollment, they're going down. Dual enrollment courses or tuition at Monco is $228 this year, $228 a credit. But if you're a dual enrollment student in any school, not just ours, you only have to pay for 1 credit. So the first year that they did that, we saved 67%. And we're able to increase the number. So next year when you see the class, there'll be 25 students here. Or excuse me, 26, and the year after 25. So we're able to offer to more students. The students here can earn up to 30 credits. We have students here that earn the full 30 credits. We have a couple that earn 27, some that have earned 25 credits. That's significant because if you get your full 30 credits, that's equivalent to 1 full year of college tuition. So at this time, I'm going to ask the students to come up. They're going to introduce themselves. They're going to tell you what college they're going to and what major. So, Ambriana, I'm going to start with you.
Hello, my name is Brianna Bai. I'll be attending Villanova University in the fall, and I plan on studying nursing. Thank you.
You said, I'm sorry, old lady came.
Villanova.
Villanova, oh, awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Abigail Deneke, and I will be attending the University of Pittsburgh and majoring in Legal Studies. Hello, my name is Carmen Gomez. I'll be attending Ursinus College, and I plan to major in finance.
Hi, my name is Tyler McGuire. I am attending Shippensburg University and I'm majoring in chemistry.
Good evening, my name is Todd Phillips. I'm going to be majoring in education at Kutztown University.
You all forgot one thing. What was your favorite class? Say it louder.
Psychology. And they're some of my favorite students.
The next slide will show the colleges that they are attending and listing the majors. One of our students that isn't here tonight is Julia Smith. Julia is going to be attending Millersville for forensic psychology. So you can see they're not going into easy majors. One funny story I'd like to tell, and I asked permission if I could tell this, but we have the students, when they first apply and their orientation, we talk about them being ambassadors to the foundation. And what that means is they do some special things like tonight, coming here and talking a little bit about the program. One of our biggest things they do is a thankathon, and many of you may have received a phone call in November from one of the students thanking you, and I do a script for them so that they don't have to make it up on their own. And any questions they're asked, they write it down and I'll call back, unless they ask, how are you doing in college? They can answer that. One of our students, Taylor, flagged me down because I'm wandering the halls. We do it here and we do it in different offices and I'm checking on them. She flagged me down, she called somebody and they hung up on her. I won't mention any names, but his initials are Dr. Paris. He thought that it was a prank, or he thought it was a spam call. She told me who it was, and I happened to have him on my cell phone, and I called him. And I left him a message, he didn't answer. Well, about 10 minutes later, my phone rings and I pick it up and there's just laughter on it. I said, no. I walked down the hall, I said, you're gonna apologize to me. So she came back the next year and did it too, so this is a lot for her. The next slide. I'm not gonna announce the names, but this is our class of 2027. We just had their orientation last Wednesday. There are 25 students there. Who will be meeting with me Monday and registering for their classes at Bonco for the fall this coming Monday. Talk just briefly here, because I know you have a lot of business, but about our programs. We project about $225,000 at the end of our fiscal year, which is June 30th, at providing that for the district for different programs. One of the highlights, this is brand new, it's a week old. We are working with Pottstown Hospital Tower Health and Montgomery County Community College on a health program. This is a sterile processing technician course. We are providing the fee for that as well as the textbook and their exam. Upon completion of the 16-week course and 400 lab work hours, they can take a test to be a certified sterile processing technician. We'll pay the first time. If they flunk that test, they're on their own. But the first time, we'll pay for that too. The other neat thing with this is when they're 18, they can apply for a job and work at the hospital as a sterile processing technician. So it's helping the hospital, they need the helpers, it's helping our students that want to be in health technology, and it's helping the college get some classes in that back here. So we're really excited about this, and I'll be even more excited if the grant I applied for goes through. We'll see what that happens. The other thing, a year ago, I talked to you about needing funds for transportation for field trips. I'm pleased to tell you tonight, we raised over $50,000. The field trip funding provided is listed there. I'm not gonna list them all, that's not even all of them. But we were able to provide transportation for the students to go on these field trips. We also have 2 more. Actually, they're already approved, but they're not gonna happen until the next school year or our next fiscal year. But our women's basketball team was also approved to go to the Keystone State basketball camp again this year. And then the women's lacrosse team wanted to go to Kutztown, but till they got their application in after we approved it, they were closed out. So now they're going out to East Stroudsburg. So that'll be both of those are fully funded by the supporters of our foundation. If you were at the high school on Monday, you saw a ton of scholarships being given out. Those scholarships awarded through the sponsors of our foundation were awarded 89 scholarships. $48,650 in scholarships were awarded or will be awarded. Some were awarded at the senior night. Middle school has their awards, and I think Rupert already had theirs, but the other 3 elementaries are having theirs as well. So they will be getting their awards coming soon. And that's all I have for you tonight. As I said, I know you have some important business, but I did want to share with you what's happening and introduce you to these wonderful students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, can we take a quick group picture so that we can celebrate with our community? Mrs. Bearden, if you'll join me, and Mr. Anthony, if you want to, guys, if you kind of stand up and then squish in, make like they like each other, and we will take it. Joe, come on in. Anthony, direct us as you need to, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Let's squish together even more.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Got it? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Congrats again.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, it is.
I saw a picture that was up there from next year, or this week in the sign. It's gonna be some.
Okay. Yeah, the good stuff. Let's keep going with good stuff. Mrs. Oakley for the minutes, please.
Yes, Madam President, I would like to present the minutes from the April 17th, 2025 board meeting.
Thank you. And can we have Mrs. Johnson with the treasurer's report and list of bills?
Yes, Madam President, I would like to present the list of bills for the period of April 2025 and the treasurer's report for the period of April 2025.
Thank you so much. Moving into committee reports, everyone. Get started with policy and personnel. Mr. Klein, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Policy and personnel met May 1st. We started off with a presentation from Mr. Boyer about the hazing policy that we had tabled the month before. He surveyed 10 different Montgomery County schools, and none of them were using it. They didn't feel the fines were worth the hassle, basically. So we decided to let that, so to speak, die on the vine. We didn't move it forward. Policy 206, an assignment within the district. Mr. Rodriguez provided Preliminary recommendations for minor tweaking to the current attendance zones. We'll be talking more about that later here tonight as we move that forward. We also move forward at Edgewood Learning Center, talking about the educational programs that they'll be providing next year. New business, we had budget question and answers. We had an open discussion that took fairly long, but it's a worthwhile discussion, obviously. The good news is, as of now, as we're sitting here, there are no furloughs. Some teachers might be offered transfers or other open positions, but nobody's going to lose. No teachers are going to lose their jobs. We talked about the meeting announcements. Next meeting, we're adding one the 22nd, and our next policy and personnel meeting will be the first Thursday in June. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we have curriculum and co-curricular, Mrs. Lawrence, please?
Sure, thank you. We also continued some of the budget discussion. I'm sure we'll get into that later, so I won't talk on that. We had some informational items. The list of open houses are in there for summer for next year. Mr. Oxenford also shared the Keystone and PSSA study windows. Most of those, I think, are already passed, but they are there if anyone's interested. He also told us about the Monco 360 program, which has been a really big success, I think, this year. And they participated, I think they had 2 teams, right? That participated in the Dana's ball competition, and they came in first and second, a tie. So that's pretty cool, especially I think a lot of those others were high school groups. And then there's Mr. Oxenford shared about the Carl Ripken Senior Foundation Mobile STEM Unit was awarded to the PMS Science classes at no cost to us. And then he told us about the Books A Million Summer Book Drive. Books purchased at Books A Million between July 20th and August 17th will be donated to our libraries, classrooms, and Reading Olympics. So our next meeting is June 5th.
Thank you very much. Since we have you, do you want to move right into MCIU?
Sure. Yeah. We met on April 23rd. We approved a bunch of things. I saw Pottstown, we did approve $750 for professional development, so I was happy that wasn't too much since we're looking at budget. I think the biggest thing that, we've been talking a lot about the federal changes and what that means and what it doesn't mean. The list of different executive orders and what that all means, but of course, we really don't have any answers. But the big question right now is we're still waiting on approval for the Head Start programs and what that's going to mean for pre-K counts. Dr. Speaker, who's there at the MCIU, keeps sending us emails with updates, and we still have not heard, what's going to happen with that for next year. But hopefully we'll know by next meeting. And our next meeting is next week, actually, the 21st.
Thank you. Moving into facilities and finance, could we have Mr. Hilton?
Well, Mr. Hilton's going to read this from here, so it's a little far from him. So the facilities meeting, Mr. Willauer talked about what we're doing this summer, which is basically replacing one of the rooms at the high school and putting a chiller at the middle school. And then we discussed stuff that needed to be done, the administration building in Edgewood, and the board decided to table that until June. And then we had a very long discussion about the budget, which essentially resulted in deciding to discuss it some more today. We did have a straw vote, 7-2, not to accept the proposed budget for the time being. And then, as you can see here, better than I can read them, we had a number of contracts, which you get every week, every month, that Mrs. Oakley recommended that we pass, and I'm sure we will. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along, Mrs. Johnson for Public Relations Community Engagements and Montgomery County Legislative Report.
Thank you. In our committee, we also came prepared with budget questions, but covered most of those in finance and facilities. We had a discussion specifically on the school budget effect on the communications department, talking about all that the role there does with the social media and communication specialists, including work on the website, school community photography and social media forums, and we discussed possible measures that could be put into place if we need to cover any of those things as best as we can, while also recognizing that some of that would just not happen. On the advocacy front, we talked about the possibility of losing some federal funding. We also talked about the state voucher proposal that's been put out there, acknowledging that while that program that is being proposed in the state Senate doesn't directly take money out of schools' pockets in their proposal in the past, those things have tended to morph over time and hurt school districts. We spoke about the May 13th Advocacy Day, which was both PSBA Day on the Hill and the PA Schools Work /Power rally. That was a really good event. I'm thankful for everybody who could come out to that. And I hope that it was effective in helping to nudge our lawmakers in the right direction. On the FAC front, the Family Advisory Committee, Ms. Jackson reminded us that May 17th is scheduled for Pottstown's Got Talent. Those who are interested can still sign up online or in person at the door. Next meeting is June 12th. And on the County Legislative Committee front, that meeting was, I guess it was last week. I don't actually remember the date off the top of my head. Yeah, it was last week. That was a meeting that we had with a representative from Senator Fetterman's office who came. She shared with us that the senator has a few proposals put forward in the US Senate, including full funding of IDEA and the School Meal Modernization and Hunger Elimination Act. The idea that the federal government would cover their 40% of the total cost of special education funding has been put forward before. This is not a new proposal. It's just he's the one to put it up this year. And we discussed the ideas of it. It's not, I don't think there's any indication that that is going to go anywhere. But we also conveyed to the liaison from Fetterman's office some of our concerns and the things that were on our mind and the type of advocacy that we thought we needed from his office. And that's all I got.
Thank you. That's a lot. Even little, it's chunky. More immediate information, Ms. Kancianik for PSBA rep.
Yes, PSBA just put out a mandate relief campaign. It was a pretty interesting read. They also are starting a new, well, I'm not sure, I don't think it's new, but each webinar is new to the series. It's called Building Bridges. And this one coming up is called Agree to Disagree, Leading with Civil Discourse. And that is May 21st. And that is free for board directors. Later tonight, we'll be voting on PSBA delegates for the delegate assembly. I'm not able to go this year. And I will make the nomination later, I guess, when it's time to do it. And that will be October 21st. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Student board representative. She's not here any longer because I believe she had to go.
Yes, allow me to make the excuses of our student board reps who are wildly busy. I'm pretty sure I saw Elias today in the hall in tryouts. I wasn't sure because there were so many kids trying out after school, and suffice it to say, as I'm sure you might hear, there is something going on every day of the week in the Pottstown School District. All really good stuff, but a little demanding as well. So if you'd like to know, all you have to do is go to our Facebook page and scroll, and you will see multiple events every single day. So I believe that will have to suffice for now.
Sounds good. So moving right along in the report of superintendent.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. On the agenda tonight for your consideration as well as for your approval are several items. We do have consent topics as well as non-consent topics. We will continue with our normal standard practice of reviewing these one at a time, and Mr. Boyer, Mrs. Oakley, and I will do our typical tag team. So, Mr. Boyer, would you please take us through the first few items?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. 8.1 resignations and terminations. We have 2 professional and we have 1 classified. 9.1 leaves. 1 professional leave and 1 classified leave. 10.1 change in position, 1 professional and 1 exempt. 11.1 professional leaves. We have 4 listed. I believe there's an error in there.
There's one under listed as Keystone Data Review. You need not do anything with it, but that actually won't occur. So you don't have to change the agenda, but for purposes of transparency, we just wanted you to know that that's not actually going to happen.
Thank you. 12.1 horizontal salary movements. You'll see in the file attachment that we have 2 of those. 13.1 are mentor assignments. File attachment, you'll see the mentor assignments recommended for your approval for the school year.
And now I take over with hours of operation. Members of the board, you might recall that every single May, hopefully like clockwork, we put hours of operation because that is part of the school code. You'll also probably remember that we very rarely change hours of operation. That is completely on purpose because we want to make sure that our parents have predictable times in terms of when they drop their students off and when they pick them up. So there is no change. We do change them from time to time, but there has to be a big reason, and I think this is about the 3rd year that we've stuck with the current recommendation. Moving on to attendance zones, as we discussed pretty thoroughly in our committee and printed out here in prose form, and I do apologize for that, but because it's rather long and tedious, but both you and members of the public can very clearly see the lines on the map, and that is attached here in the agenda. And once you have approved it, we will prominently display it in, let me rephrase. If you approve it, we will prominently display it on our website, and we'll put that in multiple places because we do understand that it'll be something that members of the public might want to see. Moving on to number 16, Edgewood approval. Again, if you recall from conversation within committee, the Edgewood building was used for multiple years as an extension program. We are now in a place in time and have enough students based on the recommendation of the Bureau of Special Education. It's time to call that building out in what's called EDNA, or Educational Name and Address. Nothing in terms of operation changes much. There are a few differences, such as we have to report on our fire drills and armed violent intruder drills, etc. We also have to have a principle of record, etc. But beyond that, it will feel very much the same to students and staff. This is open.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President and members of the board. Number 17, per Mrs. Kancianik's recommendation, we have 2 candidates, Mr. Amato and Mrs. Johnson, for the PSBA Voting Delegate Assembly in October, as well as contracts. We have 6 special education contracts and 6 data/IT contracts for your consideration for approval. And that concludes consent items, Madam President.
Thank you. Do we have any hearings from the patrons of schools for communication related to any general and consent items only? Any signed in?
Now's the time. Oh, terrific.
And since we do have 1 patron signed in person, I will ask for any virtually as well afterwards. I would just like to remind everyone that this is an opportunity for any resident or taxpayer of the Pottstown School District to address the board and refrain from addressing any individual board members. And please be reminded not to direct any questions or statements to the board members themselves. We will respond via our administration by gathering necessary information, and they will communicate back to you. Please make sure that you provide us with your full name and street address prior to addressing the board, and please limit your presentation to no more than 3 minutes or less. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, Ms. Rodriguez, Mr. Amato, Mr. Boyer, members of the school board, other dignitaries. I feel like I know some of you. I'm a former teacher. My name's Darrell Wyman.
I live up 510 Upland Street in Pottstown. I used to live on Prospect Street. I've been in Pottstown now almost 40 years. I can't believe it. I'm a local guy, grew up at Owen J. Roberts. Went into music. Was a music program so strong in Owen J. Roberts, go Wildcats. I miss those days when those Thanksgiving games, the rivalry with Pottstown and Owen J. Roberts. And the reason I'm here is about your music program. I've seen your distinguished music program from afar. Way back when 1980, when I started teaching in Coatesville. I have pleasant memories down there. I was there for like 6.5 years and came up to Potts Road. There for 33 years, retired 5 years ago, right before COVID, yes. That allowed me to work on cruise ships in that house band, Go Carnival, Go Princess cruises. And then COVID hit, and that hampered my working on ships, of course. I did squeeze out one more contract 3 years ago. But again, the point being, I'm now back substituting. I brought my badge just in case. I was just at Franklin on Monday with Mrs. Kramer, great principal, and at Rupert a couple weeks ago, Lincoln. And I really enjoy coming into Pottstown. And it took me just about 48 years to get used to being a Trojan. Wildcat all those years, and Potts Grove Falcons. It's a nice friendly rivalry that we have in this area. All the schools are so different. They're so good. I'll be at Phoenixville tomorrow. I love going there. My dad grew up in Phoenixville. And Boyertown, I have connections up there. But I'm hearing some concerns here about your music program once again. When I started teaching in 1980, Bill Lamb, that's legendary, William Lamb, was your band director and director of your Pottstown Symphony, that is no longer. And he invited me into the orchestra when I was down teaching in Coatesville. And then I heard how Pottstown cut the string program. I was very disappointed to hear that. I thought it was kind of a dichotomy because, as you know, an orchestra has strings. That's like 3/4 of the orchestra, and Pottstown cut the string program. Other than the symphony, I really had no connections with Pottstown School District, except seeing it from afar with your legendary directors, besides Mr. Lamb, Mr. Item, Mr. Dressler was there so many years. I mean, great people, great programs. You have fine directors now. Is that it?
Well, just finish up. Yep.
I have concerns that with Mrs. Mest retiring, I'm hearing that they're closing up that program. And I really hope that somehow you can keep the instruction going on during the day, because that will make an effect down the road that would affect the high school, which is still your flagship of your district, that Pottstown High School band. We don't want to see that diminish. You've had now 3 different directors in about 6 years, and they can see all this. So I hope you make the right decision, and I'm there to support the music program, even if it costs a little bit more as a taxpayer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that so much.
You have one signed in.
Is the patron in?
Anthony, we can't
Yeah.
hear any.
Yeah, she's in. I'm trying to unmute.
I hit the unmute button on the board.
She's trying to unmute.
Oh, she's trying to. Anthony, I'm seeing her in the attendee box.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute. I don't,
Good evening, everyone. Mercedes Jackson, East High Street, Pottstown, PA. I just want to say that there are many things going on in our district. And there are people who have left this district and they have turned around quickly and came back. So I just want to say that when grass may look green on the other side, it's just because it may be full of sugar honey iced tea. Never judge a book by its cover, and just know that Pottstown Trojans have grit. And other schools and places may have resources, but they are very fragile sometimes and crumble under great pressure. So thank you, Pottstown, for just continue to be fighters for the good fight. I also want to say too, in regards to the importance of the photography, some of the students say, yeah, Mr. Armato is everywhere, and yes, he is. But to have the professional pictures isn't even a comparison to those cell phone pictures, because they say that sometimes when Mr. Armato takes pictures, people head is cut off or they're upside down and everything else. So even though I love you, bless your heart, Mr. Armato, but we need that. We need that Mr. Santiago who's doing it right, and then the website. We got parents. We got parents who are going and getting pictures of their kids and using that for the professional pictures and also for scouts. So it is very, very important, because sports is so much beyond than just playing that sport in that moment. Kids are able to let out frustration there. It also gives them something to look forward to. And also this is a way for some of them to have an opportunity at college and further in their education, where families don't have those financial means. And last, I also just want to remind people again of FAC's Pottstown's Got Talent this Saturday. There are many, many other things going on. We get it. So please just make sure you're going out, spending time with your family, making memories. They're all free. And again, do not think you have to be able to sing like Beyonce or Faith Hill or Aretha Franklin. You can juggle balls. You can sing, spit poetry, spoken word. Do a puzzle quickly, do a Rubik's Cubes. All those things are talents. We all have hidden talents that we may not see every day with working with our everyday colleagues working. So please come out and share them talents. Everybody has a gift. And thank you for listening. Have a blessed week.
Thank you so much. Anthony, do we have any other patrons signed in, please?
not at this time, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, written public comment?
Yes,
You have a public comment?
I was just gonna go on in the agenda.
Well, I have a question about an item. Can I bring it up now?
Can we wait until we get to the actual board action and we can discuss? I'll ask for any. Okay.
Members of the board, as we did last month, there were some written public comments that did not quite make the cutoff because it generates within the system. People put in their written comments, and then it takes us a while to get it on the agenda. And the agenda was already printed and or rather published to all of you. So we just waited until next time. Not nearly as many as last month, but they are there for your review.
Thank you. So I will ask for board action. Do we have any communication related to the minutes, list of bills, and treasurer's report? Any communication on those items?
Is that where I can talk about?
If it's related to the minutes, list of bills, and treasurer's report.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yes?
No.
Okay. So then I will ask for a motion to accept those items.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then I will ask for board action on consent items 8 through 18. Discussion for those consent items.
That's my cue.
That's you.
Miss Spence, please.
Okay, so
I don't know what number it is, I've lost my place, but it's about the PSBA voting delegates, right, selecting, the two folks. And I just like for this board to be more inclusive and not exclusive. That side of the table, is involved in everything, every committee, chair, MCIU, PSBA. Some of them do 3 reports at the meeting. Why can't you spread the love? There should be other voices on this board that can participate in events like this and feel like all of this was decided in a small circle without it being up for discussion like a democracy that we all love and cherish.
Thank you so much for that statement and recommendation. So what actually happens as a part of this is we open it up to the board and we ask for any board members who want to attend to reach out, let us know. Similarly to the treasurer, list of bills, we ask if there's any, even with board secretary, we ask if any board director wants to throw their hat in the ring, and we didn't receive any volunteers. So that's why there was sort of like a reach out to say, hey, would you mind, because no one volunteered.
Well, no one reached out to me, and I sure don't, I'm not involved in anything on this board other than being in this seat, right?
And for that piece, I will extend that statement further, but one of the things that I did try to do as the board president was to be more inclusive and to try to have every board director involved in some piece where they were leading, and then having possibly a support person behind them for the times that they were not there. And at the time, it wasn't maybe seen that way, or it wasn't the right time, and so for different reasons, persons elected not to do certain things, and sometimes things just weren't what they wanted to do. And so I wanted every board member to be actively leading some function. When I came on, it was more of learn the ropes of what was just going on. The onboarding wasn't necessarily there because I was just a new person coming on, and I was selected by the board. And so I needed to learn and understand what the different roles were, what the facets of it were. I wanted our board to be onboarded a little bit differently, to have more insight into what was actively going on when the new board of directors were seated, which is why we had workshops, more workshops. We had a red light, yellow light, green light sort of presentation from different leads of our district to make sure that you had some sort of insight on things that were going on prior to the new members being seated, because I just didn't feel comfortable sometimes voting on things. And so I would abstain from a vote because I didn't feel like I had enough information. And at that time, Mr. Hilton was seated, and he may remember, I took some onus. I learned some information. I attended some PSBA forums. I attended some different things outside of the board and gained more insight. And then I started speaking up and wanting to have more information and be able to vote on things more clearly. But that said, I didn't want to put any of the board of directors that were seated during my term in that position. I think at times I begged for people to get more involved, but that's just my opinion. As it's related to PSBA, I will roll that over to Mrs. Kansianek, and she can provide any insight that she has.
Yes, I have reached out to other board members and did not get a response. And so since you guys are not my children, I picked my favorites and they agreed.
But I didn't get a reach out unless I missed it.
No, I did not reach out to you.
Okay,
But I can
okay, so
consider
then
your-
why is it just that side or just the favorites? This shouldn't be like high school.
I mean,
We're
that wasn't
adults
really,
trying to, you know,
as the PSBA liaison, it was my decision.
okay, but I mean, you said it was your favorites and.
But I will intervene and
They
again
are,
interject that this was presented in our prior committee of the whole meeting, where it was suggested that this would be there. We purposely put it on beforehand because one, we didn't want it to fall through the cracks, and two, we wanted to give everyone an opportunity to volunteer and say, hey, I'd like to go, and that didn't happen in that meeting. And so from that point, it was, we need to make sure we have someone by a certain date because we have to have those delegate names sent in. So this was on last committee of the whole, and the ask was made during that time. You might not have heard it, but it was made. And thereafter, then Ms. Cancian, as she said.
I also didn't reach out to everyone. It wasn't like I just left you off.
Yeah.
I didn't reach out to Sue, and she's one of my favorites too.
It's fine
so.
if you got favorites, but we should be beyond that, beyond favorites.
That was
We
a
should be
little cheeky joke.
inclusive
I
for
mean, honestly.
everyone. It shouldn't be the same people doing the same thing. And I disagree with the selection for treasurer this year, like, oh, we just randomly, oh, because we like you, let's pick you every year. I don't agree with that. I think I'm gonna say no consent to this. I don't agree with it. I think it's too cliquey that we keep continuing to pick the same people and multiple jobs. Sometimes people say they didn't even attend. Oh, because they got 3 and 4 things to do, they didn't even attend one of those meetings that they have to give reports on. Oh, I didn't go this month, you know, like that's okay. We're trying to run the district. It should be more than just the same people year after year, month after month, doing the same thing. We're supposed to be beyond that high school concept that we're only gonna move in our little cliques.
Agreed, and as the sitting president, I will say that in the last committee of the whole, and in the committee meetings, the PSBA was requested, volunteers for the committee of the whole in last meeting, and the treasurer and secretary was also mentioned in our committee.
I couldn't, my Wi-Fi was going in and out, and I heard something about secretary, Mrs. Oakley saying about secretary, but then I heard something about treasurer, and then I got cut off. Like, I went off. And so I felt I would bring it up this meeting, because I don't think it's time to select that, because it's obviously not on the agenda, right? So I'm just
It
putting.
is.
I'm no consent
It's
to
under
that too.
non-consent.
It's already on non-consent.
Yeah, they're under non-consent.
Yeah,
You
why
see
can't it be
28.3
somebody else,
and
like,
4,
especially
as
the
well as
treasurer, the
5.
treasurer should have been paying attention to the inflation and all that stuff, we should have been alerted, that's supposed to be their job, not just signing checks. So I disagree with that, I think it should be someone different.
And the ask was made, and it's actually in print in the minutes, that they said they would be willing only if there wasn't anyone else who wanted to do that job, because they had other things, so many other things that they could do, but no
Great. Well,
one
I'm
stepped
willing.
in
I'm
to
willing to do
volunteer.
Yes.
Okay, Mrs. Cancian.
Would she make a nomination, or did we already do that? I missed the last committee of the whole, and I don't remember.
Right, so no nomination was made. It was that if someone else wanted to be in that position or those positions, to please volunteer. We didn't have anyone. We certainly can make a nomination and go through vote, if that is what the board would like to do. I mean, there's nothing set in stone.
I'm willing to do it again, like I said at that meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Amato, you had something?
Yes, thank you. 2 issues, perhaps to address directly to some of your concerns. One, I hold no chairmanship of any committee of the boards. And I have purposely done that for the 8 years that I've been on the board. As it relates directly to the issue of delegates, I can tell you, I didn't consider it being a favor to be asked. I considered it more like you're drafting. So I would be certainly happy to be released from being drafted and open that up to anyone who chooses to volunteer.
Okay. So any other communication related to consent items, 8 through 18? Because those items are listed under non-consent.
Are we gonna move 17 to non-consent?
PSBA.
PSBA
was in a consent.
We want to move PSBA under non-consent. Do you want to move PSBA under non-consent, or just the other, the treasurer and secretary?
Yeah, they can conference at their, I'm just making a comment, they can conference, they can enjoy it. I just think that this board should be more inclusive, right, instead of exclusive. So no, where's the other one? It's on the non-consent?
Sorry, can you clarify, do you want item 17, the PSBA voting under non-consent, or can that stay under consent?
Give me 1 second, let me get my bearings, I'm
Okay,
trying
sure.
to navigate
Sure.
the agenda.
So
I didn't print it out this
The
time.
election of the treasurer and the board secretary, we didn't get there yet. They're non-consent item 25 and 26.
Okay, so 17.1 is the PSB voting delegate, right? All right, and so that is under consent.
Correct.
And so the secretary, that's not under consent.
Correct.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, okay, so that's 17. Okay, so I'm okay with the consent items.
Okay, all right. So then, Mr. Armato.
Nope, I'm not. I would like to request that my name be removed from the agenda as a voting delegate.
Thank you.
Mrs. Spence,
Mrs. Spence, would you like
would you like to volunteer?
go?
It's on
Now,
you now.
Mr.
I mean, you
Armato.
made the point.
I would love to volunteer, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Your
Please
name
mark
will
your
be
calendar
changed,
for
please.
October 21st, 2025.
That is in person.
Sure.
Keep it as
May
a
I,
consent item or just-
I don't know if I'm supposed to say point of order or what, but would it be appropriate, and Mr. Kalis, could you guide the board, would it be appropriate to simply substitute names since this is a matter of
Well, that wasn't my
de minimis?
nomination though, so
Okay,
take that part off and just everybody can make a nomination.
Yeah, you just open the floor for nominations.
oh, okay, and
Just
then,
like we're gonna open up the floor for nominations for the other two.
so as a result, it would be a non-consent item because it would have to be roll call. Okay, so I think that this,
Okay. We'll just add it to the item.
Okay, so we are looking for board action then for consent items 8 through 17. So I would like a motion to accept those items.
So moved.
Well, we're gonna remove 17 and we're gonna include 18 as a consent. So 8 through 18.
Well, 8 through 18 with the removal of
Yes,
17.
yes, okay.
So we did have a motion
Second.
and a roll call vote, please.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Spence,
What is the roll call vote for, that we're removing?
This is for the consent items.
All
We
consent
removed
items.
PSBA to non-consent.
Okay, I'm sorry, my hearing is really bad.
Oh, it's okay.
My apologies.
It's okay.
My hearing and my eyesight. But, okay, yes, thank you.
Bearden,
Yes.
Heidel,
Yes.
Hilton,
Aye.
Armato,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kansianik,
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you so much. Moving right along to non-consent for personnel and co-curricular, non-co-curricular assignments, Mr. Boyer.
Thank you, Ms. Bearden. You'll see in the file attachment for 22.1, the recommendations with our spring co-curricular assignments and also the non-curricular assignments are there for approval.
Thank you. Non-consent, Mrs. Oakley?
Yes, board members, tonight for your consideration is a CMD agreement for next year, 25-26, as presented, as well as item 24, the MCIU Board of Directors election representatives as presented.
Thank you. The board treasurer, non-consent. So we are asking for nominations then, if someone is interested, other than having the current treasurer that we have. Is someone else interested in that? I'm asking for discussion related to election of board treasurer.
I'll nominate Deb Spence.
I accept.
I nominate Laura Johnson.
I would accept that.
Any other nominations? Okay, so we would have a board vote.
There would be a motion to close the nominations, Madam President.
Yes, thank you.
So moved.
Second. There would then be a vote on the closing of the nominations. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
we now have two candidates passed, and for the voting process, as we've typically done in the past, when we have more than one candidate, we usually do this by a show of hands, rather than calling out one name first, or forgive me, we do a roll call. So that way, it's the most fair, instead of proposing one name first before the other. So Mrs. Oakley would go through a roll call vote with the board members. Board members would cast their vote for one of the two candidates proposed.
We need two candidates.
Pardon?
There are two candidates.
There are two.
That's what I said.
Right.
You would cast a vote for one of the two candidates.
Okay.
So you name a name.
You would name a name.
Yeah.
Right.
So if.
We need two names.
No. You're picking
You're only
which one.
voting for a treasurer.
When I
now.
call
Oh, this is, okay, I'm sorry. I thought we were still talking about the PSBA.
Forgive me. Yep, this is right now, we have a motion on the floor for the election of a treasurer to serve for a
Oh,
period of
okay.
1
I
year.
thought we were nominating for her for that.
Oh.
All right.
Too late.
Jeez. All right, just keep going.
You now have two people unless Mrs. Spence wishes to withdraw her nomination.
No, I mean, Mrs. Johnson said if no one else was interested, then,
It's Mrs. Spence's prerogative.
I thought Senator
So we have two candidates proposed. Right now, there will just be a roll call vote, and when your name is called, you simply vote for your candidate of choice for the election of treasurer to serve for a period of 1 year. Mrs. Oakley.
Well, we're not at the part of the agenda, so do you want me to skip forward and do that part, or?
Yeah, we have
still
to have
another
hearings
night?
from the patrons after we go through all of
Hearings
it.
from the patrons as it
So
relates to that.
we would come back to this.
Election of secretary.
So now we move on to discussion of board secretary. And you see that note and recommended action that we have that. Are we looking to have any nominations for board secretary? No? Okay, that remains with Ms. Oakley then.
Sorry.
I had to take a look just to make sure.
She was patiently
She
waiting.
was.
Is there a pause there?
So that said, I will ask, we had the one that we did move to non-consent, which was the PSBA voting delegate. And so discussion and nomination for that. Item 17. That's your cue.
That's your cue.
Don't keep my mouth shut.
Now it's your turn.
Just trying to be helpful.
All right, I nominate Deb to be our PSBA voting rep.
And I accept.
I nominate Laura Johnson.
I accept.
Sounds exactly the same.
So we need two, and those would be two. Any other nominations? Okay, so I would then ask for closing of nominations.
I would be remiss, you actually only need one. But it is good to have two.
Yes,
Just,
yes, two is optional, yes, thank you. I will ask for closing of the vote.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask for a point of clarification
Yes,
for
sir.
purposes? So in this case, there is no vote for one or the other. It would
Right.
simply be I
Yes.
accepting both candidates to go and represent
correct.
Pottstown
Yes.
School District. Okay,
Yep.
just
Thank
want to
you.
make sure we're clear.
Thank you for the clarity too. And then we'll ask for hearings from the patrons for non-consent items. Do we have anyone virtually?
Not at this time, Madam President.
Thank you so much. So then I will ask for board consent consent on items listed there under item 28 for non-consents, and we will go through each individual one. So looking for, starting with 28.1, the co-curricular and non-curricular assignments.
Can I ask a question about
Yes.
that one? So this is for 24-25, correct? So we're voting on this even though they're already doing these?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
So like when we're talking about budget, we're talking about next year, will we know ahead of time how much those are gonna be? I mean,
So, are you talking about total costs?
well, yeah, I'm just saying we're voting on that now because it's already basically a done deal, because they've
I think it was
already.
in last year's
Done.
budget, like the
Yeah.
budget
Okay, I'm
part
just
was
saying,
already
is that
done.
all figured into
This is-
this
Yeah.
coming up budget? And
Yes, yeah.
so if we wanted to look at that and say, hey, maybe going forward, this is something we could look at, correct? Okay.
So with that particular item, can I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Armato,
Aye.
Bearden,
Aye.
Heidel,
Aye.
Cansianic,
Aye.
Hilton,
Aye.
Klein, Johnson,
Abstain.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Spence.
Yes.
8 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you. The CMD agreement, as a non-consent, the recommended action you see is for the agreement of 24-25 year. A motion to accept.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Hilton,
Aye.
Armato,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Cansianic,
Aye.
Heidel,
No.
Bearden,
Aye.
Klein,
Aye.
Spence,
Yes.
Lawrence.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you. The MCIU Board of Directors election.
Is this paper here?
Yes.
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 What, so,
Thank you.
when is Pottstown on here? It's
But
like
you
every,
said you're on
I
your,
think I'm in year 2 of a 3-year thing.
so next
Okay.
year. So that's
Any dis-
recommended and,
Yes, that's the recommended.
so it like rotates every year?
Every
It's
year there's
different
another
every
bunch,
year.
there's like, yeah, there's a third every year.
Any other discussion needed? No? Okay, so a motion to accept
so moved.
in a second.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Spence,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Cansianic,
Aye.
Hilton,
Aye.
Armato,
Aye.
Bearden,
Aye.
Heidel,
Aye.
Klein,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you. Election of our board treasurer. We have, as we've mentioned, 2 nominations. So we will need to go through each for you stating the name of the nominee that you are selecting.
Hilton,
Laura Johnson.
Cansianic,
Laura Johnson.
Armato,
Mrs. Johnson.
Heidel,
Deborah Spence.
Klein,
Laura Johnson.
Johnson,
Laura Johnson.
Mrs. Spence,
Deb Spence.
Mrs. Lawrence,
Mrs. Johnson.
Mrs. Bearden.
Deb Spence.
And thank you.
Mrs. Johnson has the majority.
Mrs. Johnson, welcome. Thank you. Can I have a motion to accept, please? Do we need to do the roll call vote since we've already done the
No.
selection? We
That's
can
the
just
elect-
proceed, thank you. So we're rolling right along then for board secretary and non-consent. Any discussion, further discussion needed?
Yeah, because if the person said they didn't want to do it, if someone else was interested, I think there's some kind of fraud going on.
We don't want the board secretary.
No,
I
not
don't think
secretary. I'm talking
anyone
about
volunteers for board
treasurer.
secretary. Oh, okay, so we,
I'm
no,
going
we
back
just
to
did the, yeah, we just did the treasurer's vote. And it was, yeah, it was a 6.
Okay, I'll leave it alone.
Okay.
But I mean,
So-
they said if someone else was interested, they wouldn't do it.
It wasn't like a
That's
sign.
actually not what I
I
said.
mean,
No, that was for treasurer. It's like somebody said, here, okay, you do it, oh, I'll do it if nobody else is interested. Is that what happened?
It was, I am more than happy to do this. If you would like to vote someone else in, that's also fine. That's sort of kind of that
Okay.
thing, but So,
All right, let's move on. No, I'm not interested in secretary.
all right, can I have, just wait, can I have a motion then to accept the board secretary nomination?
So moved.
And a second. Board roll call vote, please.
Ms. Spence,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Armato,
Aye.
Bearden,
Aye.
Klein,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kansianik,
Aye.
Heidel,
Aye.
Hilton.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you.
All right.
And one more, we do need to do the PSBA voting rep. We don't need to do that since we have two, right? And we're allowed to have two, so we don't need to have a roll call vote on that. Am I clear?
No, we do, because it was asked to be moved to
I
non-consent.
think it has to be
Yeah,
because
approved
it was
publicly
moved.
because there are representatives.
Okay,
But you have
so,
two nominations, which is fine. It's not contested.
okay, so PSBA then would like to have a motion to accept the two nominees.
So moved.
So, second.
Roll call vote, please.
Klein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Spence,
Yes.
Johnson.
Aye.
Kansianik,
Aye.
Hilton,
Aye.
Heidel,
Aye.
Armato,
Aye.
Bearden.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you so much. New business, we have some information that was brought to us, and we certainly are always interested in moving things forward. So I will ask for discussion from Mrs. Johnson on the resolution for cyber charter as well as the PSBA platform item.
So over the last week, two things have come to my attention that I thought we could do on the advocacy front as it relates to state and federal funding. The first item actually came to me through another area school district. I think it's perfectly okay to call them out. Twin Valley passed a resolution in support of cyber charter reform. And I saw it and I thought, this is great. Let's jump on board and kind of help add to the flow of advocacy that is, in some cases, coming from other districts, which is great because Pottstown is often at the forefront. And I love when I see it coming from new spots and we can help accentuate that. So we're going to add our voices to that if the board so chooses. A resolution in support of statewide cyber charter tuition reform. And I don't know if we can display it or if everybody can look at their board docs there where we have it. It basically calls for cyber tuition reform, both on the regular ed flat rate side and on the special ed side where it would be tiered tuition rates. Would have a tremendous impact on not only our budget, but on the budget of school districts across the state if we could make sure that public dollars are going to student needs and are going to student needs alone and not to all kinds of other things that people might spend that money on. So that is there for the board's consideration. The second item that I came across, board directors in an area school district, also not in Montgomery County actually, reached out and said, hey, we are going to be proposing a change to the PSBA platform, basically calling on PSBA to be advocates for maintaining federal funding and the threat of cuts either to Title I or to special ed, and also calls on the state legislature and the governor to advocate with federal officials should cuts be proposed. So it's basically saying, hey, PSBA, you are our advocates in this space. You need to have a policy and a practice of saying this is not okay and that we need to stand for this. So both things were a little late to the game, too late to get on the community engagement agenda, but seemed worthy nonetheless. So this is the PSBA platform piece. It's actually something that Ms. Spence and I would be voting on when we go in October. That should it get through their committee. And that's another little caveat, but yeah.
So we need action on that, please. Can we bring those in? Does anyone have any issue? Can we bring those in as non-consent items that the board would approve?
I like to read it.
We can certainly add them into the June meeting. if you need time to read.
That's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Could also do it next week.
Or into.
Yeah, I was gonna say-
Committee meetings. Oh, well, we're actually having our an additional ad hoc, so.
Yeah, that's fine, whatever
Review
works.
next
The
time between now and next Thursday.
PSBA proposals are just already right there in it, and then the cyber charter tuition reform is an attached document. But yeah, if we could add it to next week, that'd be great. I think anything we can do it's partly about elevating the conversation as it relates to the cyber charter tuition reform, because that is currently something that is being talked about, and our lawmakers need to hear about it, and like, that is sort of a timely thing, but it's not like a this week thing.
No, definitely getting it on the PSBA platform. We've seen what that can do, especially with advocacy and the fair finding or equitable funding. So yes, anything that we can do to continue that momentum when it comes down to the funding going in different directions. So please review that for next Thursday then. And I will go then into information items. So please.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Earlier this week, I did send you some additional requested information, and I attached that to this public document, so it would be available for public review. In addition to that, we do have some of the follow-up questions that were asked at our May 8th work session, our budget work session. And at this time, I'd like to present some of those, the slideshow, the brief slideshow that we have put together for your review and discussion.
I'm taking the first few, or are you taking that?
Let me get it up there real quick, sorry.
Okay.
In the Zoom meeting, sorry.
And I know we're going, as she pulls it up here, I know that we are gonna talk a little bit more about the budget, and we have some new information as well as some changes for you to consider. But we wanted to, first of all, make sure that we answered all the questions, so thankfully we have all of this on video, so I was able to go through and wanted to make sure to answer a few things that I heard, and even one that one board member asked, and I don't think I did a good job answering that, so I wanted to make sure to readdress that. So, okay, so here we are. So Mrs. Kancianik, and forgive me if I messed this up, but I think it was you who had asked, I'd like some more information with regard to special ed caseload, so you can see it there. I could not actually find where there is a caseload maximum for occupational therapists. However, I think it's a fairly safe assumption because I did find that physical therapist was at 3. So as you can see there, it goes from 35.8 to 44.75, maximum of 50. Speech from 49 to 59, which is approximately 10 students per speech person with a maximum of 65. So that is the answer to your question. You had also asked, hey, what else, what are they, like, were they just doing nothing for half the day, et cetera? And I just wanted to add, because I did say, hey, listen, they're busy all day. They're not eating bonbons, they're doing work. But the difference is that while they had the luxury of staying at one building and participating in certain meetings, like core meeting or other meetings of that sort, they're probably gonna do that less at one specific building all the time. They'll attend to those meetings when they're able, when it's free, et cetera. So I would say meetings and some of that daily coordination will be the thing that they will have to do a little bit less. Now, obviously, it depends on how we reformulate for the next year. So I'm giving you my best guess. Did you have a question?
Would that include IEP meetings?
I mean, if they need to be in an IEP meeting, no matter the caseload, they'll be at the IEP meeting. I don't know that OTs typically attend IEP meetings, but when
They do when you request them to.
Correct, yeah.
So what happens to the student hours then?
Nothing.
But how do they get all that in? I mean, if they have,
As I said, they're attending less of the
but
coordination
if they have to
meetings.
go, I'm just saying, you said then they'll go, but what happens if they had students scheduled?
The case managers coordinate all that. There's not one OT for the entire district. So they cover each other. Will it be harder? Answer, yes. It won't be as convenient, but we're, as you can see, we're well below the caseloads. And that's an area, again, I know that everyone has said, and I will tell you that staff say the same thing, but Stephen, this is gonna hurt. Guys, it all hurts. So like, we're trying to choose the spots that are within our boundaries and hurt less. So in other places where they're literally over the caseload, and I could name you the places where if we did an audit, I know, because I talked to the other administrators from those districts, they're well beyond. And they just kind of flip, and the staff knows, like, we can't get anybody. So we have been blessed to be well below. Now we're gonna get closer.
But it could be over by next year.
Could be, yep. Yeah, in which case we come back to the board. I mean, the reality is there's an ebb and flow to numbers at all times. So, yep. And for what it's worth, one of the things I was gonna mention in terms of some of the things that we heard, all of this is something that we can potentially change. The only thing we can't change, obviously, is that we fill a position and that person decides to stay here for 35 years, minus cutting the entire department, they get to stay here. So that is the one thing, if you're gonna choose to fill or not to fill, you can wait a year and then fill, but you can't fill, wait a year and then say, we changed our mind. You can't do that. Yes,
I have a question related to
Yes.
that. So you fill a position, and not just this, but anything, you fill a position,
Yep.
that person can stay. But you can move them to other positions that they're qualified and certified for, right?
Sure.
Okay.
That's what we're doing now in order to get the efficiencies. Yep. And it's like, we had a high number of resignations this year, which is why we started with the transfers, because, excuse me, I said resignations. I meant retirements. We had a high number of retirements, which is what allowed us. Could we have this flexibility next year? Well, I'm gonna tell you, no. I already looked at everybody from 30 years to 35 years, and the number is much smaller than what we had this year.
Wait, so if someone just resigns, then we would have to refill that position? We couldn't just?
No, I'm saying the exact opposite.
Okay.
If someone resigns, that's your only power to say, we're not gonna fill this position right now. We can wait and see. If we hire someone, you can't then say, we changed our mind, we need to let that person go. Now, there actually is, and again, for purposes of transparency, there is a circumstance where that is possible, but it has to do, first of all, it's very elongated, and it has directly to do with student population. Our student population has been so steady, we could be an asterisk in a textbook.
And if we went down?
If we went down, then the board would have the option. So as an example, in a different circumstance out west, if you had 1,000 children and you had, let's say 5 teachers per grade level, and within 5 years you went from 1,000 to 600, you can't keep supporting that many teachers. So in that case, it would be, all right, we're gonna go from 5 to 3, but you have to go through an elongated PDE structured process in order for that to be legal, and you will be consulting with your solicitor at every step. If I understand correctly, it does happen, but it's rare. Okay, should I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. Moving on, plan for 3.3 million deficit. Mr. Klein, you asked the question, and as I watched myself, I thought I didn't do a good job of answering that, so I apologize. But so the $3.3 million is what I believe is called a structural deficit. So in other words, we are knowingly going in, spending more money than we are taking in this year. So the plan there is, obviously, we're hoping for more money, but even if we get 100%, because we talked about, the structure here, well, we're banking on 50%, hope to get 65, 75, 85, but even if we got 100%, we would still have a structural deficit of $2.3 million. That would be best case scenario. So what we would be doing is we'd be looking for efficiencies. Mrs. Oakley and I had a conversation about some things that, and she can decide to comment on this or not, but she's working on back angle things that quite frankly, we don't even have control of, but we're hoping to change some things as it relates to how we pay our bills, when we pay our bills, to try and gain efficiencies. Okay, that's great. It's not gonna be $1 million. It's gonna be 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. But we hope to put those little pieces together to lower the deficit. But the reality is that it is entirely possible we will come around this time next year and we'll be looking at other personnel do not fills or other things, unless we keep eating into our fund balance, in which case it'll be gone and then you'll have no choice and you'll have to do massive cuts all at once. So at one point we talked about the rubber band effect. I mean, this is not what I was talking about at the time because we were talking about reducing taxes. What I would caution the board in terms of just the overall 2 to 5 year time period is, to cut back a little bit here and there is far better for the system to adjust than making massive cuts because we have no other choice. Did I do a better job of answering that question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. Follow-up questions. Questions regard to grants. Great question. I believe this was you, Mrs. Spence. So we just I wanted to, quite frankly, confirm what I was thinking before I spoke. So you can see there the list of grants. Now you'll see it's $25 million. Stephen, how in the world can we be getting $25 million worth of grants? Well, some of those grants are grants by statutory requirements, such as the Ready to Learn grant. So we get the Ready to Learn grant every year. We still have to do a whole bunch of stuff in order to qualify. But that is a grant that we've pretty much counted on. Pre-K counts $3.3 million. We have been fortunate, and this is as a result of skill, not as a result of luck, but we have continued to get that grant, and we pretty much count on it every year. But there are many other grants that is not the case. In fact, we have been getting continued pretty much from around January. We've been getting continued communication that we should not necessarily depend on some of our federal grants, and we go after every grant that we can, but there's the supplement not supplant rule. So there are no grants out there that would say, hey, here's help with your general fund. It's just not out there. What grants will do is say, hey, you don't have a stencil drawing program for your 8th grade. We'll add that. You can use this money to add to it. And usually most grants will say, we'll pay for it for 3 years, but then eventually we want you to pay for it. That is how grants work. So we really do believe, there may be some level of room to grow there, but we really do believe we've actually maximized our grants. And in fact, we could be seeing a decrease in the number of grants that we get. Good. Okay, thank you. Finally, a follow-up question to payment in lieu of taxes. It is a notable idea. I think everyone knows my opinion of the fact that if we have 30% of our land taxes are off the rolls and are not-for-profit entities, which they are, and I listed some of them right here, not all of them, by the way. But the issue with that is that while some of them, and you can have the argument back and forth, and I know exactly where we would go because the biggest is the one we all like to pick on a little bit, but the reality is that even if asked, they would not be incentivized to necessarily help us because they have their own boards that they attribute to. Now, could we ask? Yes, we absolutely could. Could we put some pressure on them to do so? Yes, we absolutely could. Do I think we should include any of that as a part of our overall financial decision-making? Members of the board, I do not. I do not, only because I do not believe, I think that many of them would say, hey, listen, we're tiny compared to you guys, and they would be correct.
But we wouldn't go after the tiny ones, right? We would go after the big one.
You could certainly do that, yes.
That's my thought.
You could certainly do that.
Okay.
So, question, I mentioned that the Hill School pays taxes to payments to the borough, and they also pay to fix roads. Did you look into that, Mrs. Oakley?
I did. I don't have any follow-up information for you
Okay.
this time.
I do know that is true.
Okay.
And my understanding, and this is not a legal statement in any way, this is my informal understanding, that agreement was what I would call a payment for services. So in other words, no tax dollars, good luck shoveling the roads. Now, I don't know that for sure.
I can tell you what happened.
Okay.
Okay.
So the Hill School built some houses on the east side of, of Green Street. And then they asked the borough to vacate Green Street. So Green Street is not a street, it goes around. And so that way, they could go to the Board of Assessment Appeals and say, these houses that we just built are part of the campus and therefore deserve to be tax exempt. But they said to the borough, if you go along with us, we'll make a payment in lieu of taxes for 20 years. But that was to the borough, not to the school district. Nobody asked the school district, wait a minute, what about us? So that is what happened. They had the 20 years, starting maybe 7 or 8 years ago, that they're only paying the borough payment in lieu of, and then that expires.
Okay, so you have your answers. I believe that's all I had. Is that right? Okay, so next slide is hearing. So hearing the direction of the board. So we noted all of your concerns and acknowledgement, reliance on fund balance is not recommended. I said that to everybody. We know that we've got some major issues that we'll have to take care of. All of our buildings are getting older, and if we don't take care of them, they cost more. Preliminary budget must be passed soon. We all know that. The date is next week for us to do that. So the one thing that we did want to just mention, because sometimes as board members, and I will admit as superintendent as well, we tend to treat the preliminary as the final, but that's actually not true. So if things were to change or if there are other issues, you do have the flexibility. The preliminary is passed and then the final is passed. So we wanted to make sure to point that out. So the common concerns, and of course there were many concerns, but the common concerns regarding library position as well as elementary counselors. So we created what we're calling option B budget because, fourth look is where we were. We heard from the board as what you wanted in terms of the overall direction, understanding that that's not a recommendation, that is what you're directing us to do. And so we're proposing to add library positions all back, which would really mean we're not doing anything different with that program. We're taking those positions, we're leaving them in the library, and then we would backfill the different positions that we were going to transfer them to. We did not put that here because it was not relevant to the numbers.
So wait, the 4 librarians are broken down how?
One at the high school, one at the middle school, 2 that float between the four elementary schools. 3 days in one school, 3 days in another, back and forth between 2 schools. Okay, and then next slide, I believe.
Yeah.
So here you go. The option A, what we had recommended and what was our fourth look is a budget shortfall of $3.3 million, or 3.4, and then that would come out of fund balance with the tax increases and the other efficiencies / cuts. And then based on board direction last week, we put everything, we put the positions back in, and you see there that it's just shy of $4 million out of our $9 million shortfall. So it'll be $1.7 million in a tax increase, as well as using the fund balance for the shortfall. So I don't feel the need to go through all the precautionary tales of what will happen in the next few years. I think we've all talked about that, but at this point, I would request of the board, should I keep going here? Okay, thank you, Madam President. I would request of the board, if you are strongly against all of this, then please tell us. If you have any other questions, we will do our best to make that happen here at the end of the year and graduation and preparations, etc. But we'll still do our best. If you just need time to think, that's fine. And if you're a yes or still a yes, that's also fine. But we do need to make sure that when we come together again on the 22nd, that we have a budget that everyone is comfortable with. Or if we still don't have consensus, Our proposal would be that we would come up with several scenarios. It would be option A, option B, option C, option D, however you would direct. And then it would be up to you to duke it out in a vote royale, so to speak. You would have to continue to vote, and whichever option gets 5 votes first would be the winner. That would not be my recommendation, but if that's what it comes to, we must pass a preliminary.
Question, just to be clear, this is with the 50% that you projected, correct?
50% state revenue? Yes.
Okay, so if we got more than that, would
Yes.
change, obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
So basically 600,000 for a counselor and 4 librarians.
Is that, I thought it was
Yeah,
7.
because I said around 600,000, which is about, right, actually, there's less.
No,
6.
I'd have to look, I mean.
Oh, it's 3
Yeah,
and
it
3.
was 3, it was
Yeah.
3,339, I
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
600,
Yes,
yeah.
you did, yeah.
Um,
I know, I'm like, why is my brain flashing? Because I believe you had said that plus the
Well,
math.
I
Yeah.
still want to revisit that
The
as
math is
well.
not in there.
Yeah, I know.
The math is one that I would suggest is,
Yeah, I know.
and I'll say it again, I would suggest you wait and see on that
Can
one.
I ask you a question about that?
Yes.
The high school, if I'm correct, because I think this was in my committee, I'm pretty sure, even though there's a lot of numbers and things, but I'm pretty sure that the high school is in the TSI improvement thing for math. Is it math the area that we're really hurting in?
They have a couple, they have a couple
Attendance.
areas, I think
But I
it's
think math is
it's
one of them.
ATSI, so yeah,
Yes, ATSI.
and it's specifically math in some of our subgroups, such as IEP, et cetera.
Okay, so that's the groups we're talking about though. When I was looking at that list you gave me, I don't know if you have that, but that's what's concerning me because our two lowest, the 2 remedial or below grade level maths you have set up for 15 classes throughout next year. But the average class size is going up to 20, 21.
From 14 to 20.
That's a lot for that low group, because that's the problem area, and that's what's worrying me. If we're gonna now we're gonna teach, again, we also were talking, I know, about whether there's even that many kids that really should be in there, I don't know. But if they should be, that's a lot of kids, and a 20 kid class for remedial math is a lot. I don't see how that's gonna improve their status. And if we're trying to get an improvement, what happens if we don't make the standards for our approval? What happens
So,
then?
well, we just stay in it. So that's a great question.
I mean, it's bad enough for the students, but I'm also thinking, what does that do for us as a school if we
Yeah,
keep staying in that ATSI?
I don't want to be there. I think the only comment that I would make, because at this point, I want to make sure that we are making as wise a decision as we can. I think that this board knows that if things change on the ground and we find that we miscalculated, I've been the first to say, hey guys, I think this was a mistake. We shouldn't have gone this way. Now I'm recommending something different. So I think as we move into next year, we should look at it and we should monitor. And if we find that the change, because we're making a lot of different changes in a lot of different areas. We're making because there is no way to change a high school problem at high school. So I'm just going to remind everybody of that. And Mr. Klein knows what I mean. If you have a high school problem, the only way to fix it is in elementary school and middle school. So that's where some of our concentrated efforts have been. So at this point, knowing that once we make that decision, it's very difficult to unmake it. My recommendation is that we wait and see, and that we consider where we are. And I see some trouble spots, and Mrs. Lawrence, I've talked to you, I know that there are trouble spots, but I also see some good spots and some areas of improvement based on some of the actions that we've taken. So at this point, in terms of the budget, I'm still recommending that we do not fill that or some of these others at this time. That's not the only one that I'm potentially concerned about. House principal is another immediate example. Home and school visitor is another immediate example. But again, when we're looking, Maureen and I really do take our job seriously. We understand that we are accountable to you, and we understand that we have a moral and legal obligation, an ethical obligation to students and staff. It's a lot to weigh and a lot to consider, but at this point, that's where we are in terms of the recommendation.
To allay maybe her concerns a little bit, if they're a majority IEP students, they're gonna have some push and aids with them also that can assist in that
Yeah, I asked
classroom.
him about that
Yes,
yesterday,
there
but
will
he
be
said not all of them.
Correct, there will be some. Most of our assistants are working in the specialized classrooms or the learning support classrooms. We are opening up our co-teaching program. So I think I had mentioned that before. So we're gonna have more co-teaching than we did before. It's not necessarily gonna be in every developmental class, so I don't want you to think like, oh, this will be fine because we'll have co-teachers. We only have so many
Can you
special
describe
ed.
what co-teachers are?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. So I was a special education teacher. When I was in the classroom, I did several stints as a co-teacher, which meant that I would go into I was actually an algebra teacher for several years. I was the special ed teacher. The math teacher was the algebra teacher. Typically speaking, we had a few more students than the others. So we might have 26, 27, 28 kids in our class versus 23, 24 in a classroom with only one teacher. And then the teacher was the expert in the content. I was the expert in delivery. So he would say, we've got Y equals mx plus b. And I would say, you can't give that to my special ed kids because I'm telling you right now, they're gonna look at you and say, what are all these letters? We have to break it down. And then we would plan, we'd work together, and then we would deliver together as well. In a good co-teaching environment, students do not know who the regular and special ed teacher is. By the way, I'm not saying that we're having co-teaching in all of those sections. I don't think that that's true, but we are very much expanding our co-teaching program because we have to. The Bureau of Special Ed has told us, you gotta get more kids in to see regular ed teachers. So that is gonna happen no matter what we do here.
How much would it cost to, instead of getting another teacher, to hire a paraprofessional to help in those math classes? Or would that just be a dumb idea?
No, there's no dumb ideas. I would just say that.
I'm just, because I know when we talked, I think the 7 developmental and they're 20 and we were thinking maybe some would move out. But then when you go up to the next level, that's pre-algebra, which is, there's 8 classes and they're up to 20 kids too. So there's really nowhere for them to go. It's not like they can move out of the lower level and then it's gonna overload the next level. You know what I mean?
True, but remember that sections can be moved.
Yeah.
So if there's, just for purposes of simple math, if I've got 5 of one section and 4 of another, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got a bunch of kids here, I don't overload the 4 for the 5, I just make this 4 and make this 5.
No, I'm saying, but if they go up to the next level, like let's say they're in developmental and they decide, okay, they can do better than that, we're moving them up to algebra, but the algebra classes are already filled. You know what I'm saying? So there's really nowhere, I don't know, I'm still seeing 20 in these classes. I don't see how that's dropping. I mean, the only other thing is to, you know, the other idea is just to use the higher level classes that only have 10 and work out something with moving them over to Mako or something where they could take the class over there and then free up a teacher. I mean, it's just another idea.
It's a good idea.
You know, just to free it up so those classes don't have that many in them.
Well, as you know, I have a meeting this summer with Montgomery County community officials, and we are going to be talking.
When I heard that price had dropped so much for them to go over there, from 600 to 200?
I don't know if that's just Mr. Rosevich's program.
I don't think, my understanding is it's not, that it might not, and I was also looking into how much it costed for us as a school district to pay for a class with just, you know, with just our people, and there's options, you know, would be some, I don't know if we have time to do that for fall, but it would be certainly a cheaper option than hiring a teacher at 70, 60,000, so I think the prices are like 7,000, so.
And you said we'd be hard pressed, right, for first semester and second semester if we see a drop in the math class, and it would be hard for us, one, to recover in that class very quickly if we don't have more supports and resources than allocated to those classes for second semester in order to bring them up, right? Because we're moving to 2 semesters, so that would be a good idea to be able to move.
We are already a 2-semester system, so the ability to maneuver at the second semester mark, if that's what you're saying, is yes, we absolutely do that and would do that, and that affords us some level, just as not to get too far down the path here, but like one of the options of the high school principal is if he finds that this person is not placed correctly, and usually it's just as a result of a conflict within the schedule, such as, hey, you're in this, but you're also in this other course that you really, really need. They can just look at the second semester and reschedule that, and that usually provides for it fixes the problem.
I have a question. So what I hear you saying is that once they get to the high school level, if they're still not at level in math, you don't see that happening because that's a problem that should have been fixed in elementary or like elementary, middle school level?
No, we absolutely work on that problem and on those issues. What I was saying is that if we took every single math teacher in the district and applied it to the high school and gave students 90% math every single day, even if we got great Keystone scores, we're not actually solving the problem. We're just shifting the resources. The problem is at the elementary and the middle school. So if you fix that, eventually at the high school level, you'll need less resources. Right now, we're applying those resources. And that's where the developmental math programs came from. They were a suggestion of staff because we had extremely high failure rates. When I was principal there, it was not unusual for Algebra 1 to be failed at the rate of 50%. That was a systemic issue then. I knew it. The administration knew it. They did not have the money to do some of the things that we've done, such as right now, our middle school students are getting more math than they've ever received before. That was done as a result of the planning that we've done since the comprehensive plan. Elementary programs are more robust than they've ever been before. And there's an elementary teacher here who will no doubt call me a liar if that's not true. We are working on the systemic issue because that, in my opinion, is the best way to deal with the issues at the high school.
I think we were saying the same thing, but okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And COVID, I think, is a big problem too. I think the students that are
Without
coming to high
question.
school now were like, what, 5th grade, 4th grade during COVID.
Yep.
So hopefully it'll improve, but I still worry about that group. But
I would like to take the temperature of, yes,
Can
ma'am.
I just add something? It's new budget topic. In our last committee meeting, it was said about the band lessons and that whole schedule. And it was said that lessons outside of Pottstown are done before and after school, and that's not correct. At least from parents and teachers that I've talked to outside of our district, lessons are done in school. It's instruction of the instrument, not practicing the instrument. That is done before and after school.
Like rehearsals.
Rehearsal and practice is done before and after. Learning the instrument happens in school. In most of the area district schools around here. So I just wanted to
That's
to
fine.
clear that.
Yep.
Can I ask to the wait and see, that was back on option A maybe? Or maybe it was even before that. It was, what, can you explain what you mean a little more by wait and see? Are you thinking like that something potentially changes even after the budget is passed at the state level? Are you thinking near term wait and see at all? Or, okay, you're thinking like monitor these reductions or cuts or whatever we're calling them and
Monitor
then, okay.
that is what, so from my perspective, let's talk about library. I hate the idea, and I found your data to be compelling, Mrs. Lawrence. I hate the idea of losing our library programs. But the objective was, number one, don't affect students very much, or affect that experience as little as possible, and save jobs. So if we add library back, that is the prerogative of the board. The reason that it didn't have my recommendation is because I know that later, those positions may, not necessarily library, but other positions may have to be cut completely. So wait and see simply means, to me, in terms of personnel decisions, the board has the most power right now. Once you fill a position, your power becomes limited. Not filling the position gives you the opportunity to say, what effect is this having? Should we be cutting back in other areas? Are there other things such as sports or after-school experiences that will have a direct effect on student morale as well as student programming? That's something that they will feel very immediately. And again, I know that there will be different opinions about all of that. Fine, understood. But the recommendation given will give you the time to see what effects these things have, so that if we need to monitor and adjust, which is what we often tell our teachers, you deliver a lesson, you monitor and adjust. So that's what I meant by wait and see. And maybe now that I think of it, maybe I should have said monitor and adjust.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure which way, partly, yeah, because it's kind of an open-ended phrase. I mean, I just want to throw like a thought out there quick. The library positions, the elementary counselor, those were high on my list of the things I was the most hesitant to cut. As I continue to process and listen to feedback, I am still concerned about that middle school or the elementary band because of how the different ways it may or may not work out. I'm not saying I absolutely wouldn't vote for it. I'm just expressing that. That is my key.
Did you say the thing someone sent us about how that's
There's the
scheduled? It was
scheduling and
confusing,
how it works. So
yeah.
I just, yeah, I'm just not totally resolved. That might be like, it's probably a little bit more of a, I need to continue to think that one through. But if there's gonna be any one thing that I'm gonna ask to add in, it would be that one.
Well, I will tell you that would be an excellent example of something that is non-mandated that the board asked us to look at. And that is a perfect monitor and adjust.
Yes, and I also do want to acknowledge, partly because I saw at least one news report that I wanted to make clear, the board asked you guys to present budget cuts options. And so while I do understand that there's a lot of pushback as we've gotten feedback and thinking through what all of this means, I do want to call out that like, this wasn't just out of the blue that you guys brought us all these cuts. This was us saying, we have a massive budget deficit, please bring us, in my mind, like a menu of things that we can cut, because we, in my opinion, we have to make some cuts. So I just wanted to say that because I feel like there's sometimes a little bit of a tension between who's even asking for this, and everybody wants to be like, none of us want these cuts. It's a matter of we all kind of, I think to a large degree anyway, know we need to make some cuts, and it's not really maybe quite the tug of war that it sometimes might look like. That's all.
And that said, we also asked the administration to go further and explore other areas where we could, again, either consolidate and or mitigate any losses that our students would feel in any directly. Obviously, with our two main priorities as a board being safety and the educational piece. So our primary pulse here is to safely educate our students. Those are the main objectives that we have as a board, that we've called out in our statement, as well as in our requirement federally. So that in mind, we know other things are always, brought up, and for some reason, people assume that we are always seeking to eliminate band. That's always like the number one thing when something comes up, it's like, oh, band's on the chopping block. Band was not on the chopping block. It still is not on the chopping block. This is not a chopping block discussion. This is, we are at a deficit. Many districts are at deficits. And across the states, we are seeing positions slashed heavily, I mean, deep slashes. And we are not doing that in this district. But what we are doing is looking to be fiscally responsible and make sure that we don't put things in a scenario where come next year, it is a much deeper wound that we would have to contend with. So it's not gonna feel good. We've had this discussion. It's not gonna feel good which way we go. None of these are options that I like. None of these are choices I would ever vote for. But that said, we have an ability to kind of ease into things, see what damage is, and do some damage mitigation if it's there. We pray it's not. We pray that we receive the monies, set 65, 75% at least. But at this point, I'd like to have a temp pulse of where you all are on things, and I get fully that no one likes any of the options 100%. I do get it, but the team just needs to have an idea of where we are again.
I have a question about the homeschool visitors. Their assignments is to make sure students get to school, check on those that are not coming to school, correct?
They do two things. They help with finding out where students are, which is, or making contact when parents either have barriers or refuse to connect. They also have a special designation, which we will still have. But there's a special designation where a process by which a student is on our rolls, but we think that they move. Now, if they move within the Commonwealth, something that most people don't know, if they move within the Commonwealth and say they register at McKeesport, which is well across the state, but they didn't tell anybody, they didn't tell their neighbors, they didn't even tell their landlord. How in the world would anybody know that? Well, what's the ID? PAID will register them within the system, so we can at least do some level of, oh, well, you know, they're in McKeesport now, and that will cause a process by which they're going to get their registration. So we see then that they went to McKeesport, clear across the state. But what happens if they go to private school? What happens if they go to Maryland? The answer is, what happens if mom takes them and we don't know what's going on with them, or there's a custody issue and they're no longer with her, what have you? The answer is, we have no idea. So the home and school visitor at that time can say, okay, I've gone through all of the steps mandated by the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and I certify that this person no longer lives here. And that then allows us to take them off the rolls. Does that happen often? I'm happy to say it doesn't happen often. It happens more than we like.
And we're getting rid of that position.
At this point, yes,
That's one of the recommendations.
yes.
This is, I mean, this, and
Now, we have
I-
other capacity, just so you know. But yes, at this point.
And that would go to the counselors, correct?
Some of it would go to counselors, others of it would go to social work, others of, there are other people who have certifications that we would utilize, much like the transfer of responsibility. It's not clean, but it would be addressed.
Sure, so just as a reminder, option A is all of the administrative recommendations that we've talked about since we began this budget process. And raising taxes to the adjusted index, as well as the use of a little over $3 million of fund balance. And option B is those administrative recommendations except putting back a counselor at the elementary level and the 4 librarians. Similarly, tax increase to the adjusted index, and then the use of $3.9 million. So, I can go down list of names, and if you'd like to express option A or B, I guess, and then if you have any other recommendation or would like to see something different, I guess, I'll start there. Okay, Klein,
Yes for A, no for B.
Kansianik,
I'm no for both.
I'm going to ask at this time, okay, what, do you have,
Special ed, the speech and OT, I can't let go of it.
just the speech and OT, or speech and OT into one of these options?
Into option B, sure.
Johnson,
I could probably vote for option B.
Armato,
Well, like I think many others, I still want more time to think. However, if I was going to have to choose between A and B right now, I would say B. However, I still think we have to look at music. To use Mr. Rodriguez's analogy as to mathematics and what is needed in order to improve the quality of mathematics, the same is true of everything. We have to go back to the beginning. We have to go back to elementary. So doing anything in music that would adversely affect elementary music, I'm not necessarily in favor of.
I second that.
would you like to put another option on the table?
Would I like to become superintendent and business manager and make up a whole new budget? I don't understand the question.
I'll clarify. Mrs. Bearden had said, hey, folks, if you're gonna say, I don't like this option, you know, is there something else? Or are you simply saying, no, just take it out of fund balance? Because taking it out of fund balance is an option, it's just a limited one, that may not last past this particular board, but will, again, is, so I.
Well, again, I think I made, the point that I was making was that come back with something that does not adversely affect music, particularly at the elementary level. How you do that is for you to do. I think a board member has already asked, I think we've already seen in print what it looks like when we do the go to fund balance, where that eventually takes us. And I think I have said before, at the end of the day, nobody's going to be happy, whether it's today, whether it's this year, whether it's next year. If we continue on the basis that we're going on, and one of the reasons that we were in Harrisburg the other day, and that is to have the state provide us with the resources necessary to provide educational foundational activities for our students, we are going to be in the same boat in the 26-27 budget and the 27-28 budget and down the road, and eventually nobody will be happy until that part of the problem is resolved.
Mr. Hilton?
I'm fine for A or B.
Can I ask you a follow-up question, Mr. Armato?
Sure.
So what you're saying is that, what you're thinking is just don't have any of these cuts, go straight to fund balance, because at some point, you're thinking with advocacy, the state or the federal will make us whole again.
Well, if you're asking if I have faith in the state and federal government to do some of the things that they are morally responsible to do, I have some questions about that. And again, are we gonna have to use some of our fund balance? Yes. How much of it? That's for a decision to come back. And at the end of the day, the 9 of us are gonna be the ones that have to make that decision. The superintendent doesn't make it, the business manager doesn't make it. They say, here are some options. And just as they're doing right now, and doing a very good job of it, trying to lay out everything, it says, here's what you could do. Quite honestly, for me, I don't know about the other 8, but for me, I still have to go back and sit down and say, okay, what's this all mean at the end of the day? What's my vote? What is my vote going to mean to the future of the students that are in our schools right now and to our community members? And I have to tell you, I'm not ready to jump on that boat.
Fair enough.
Ms. Spence?
I like B better than A.
Mrs. Lawrence?
I do like B much better than A, that's for sure. I am still a little concerned about the math and the principal and the music. So those 3 would be, to me, the things that I would really want to be watching, wait and see. If I had some assurances that if that is not working, that we would change course quickly, then I would be okay.
Mr. Heidel?
I mean, I don't want cuts. I want kids in the building. I want kids learning in the building. I don't want to go above 4 million. And you're looking at 3.9 right now if we go with option B. When we start adding more stuff in, we're going to be above 4 million. I don't want to. I find a way to make it under 4 or at 4, and I could go for it.
So are you saying you could support?
I could go for B, but I just, if we can make other efficiencies or switch around, I don't want to be voting for a budget of more than 4 million out of fund balance. Okay, so to me, it's, if you're gonna add something, take something. Or find a way to squeeze it in and make it work. If it's one librarian that does all 4 elementary schools, it gets you one more person to give you music, that's great. If it's, you know what I mean, to get a homeschool visitor, you have to do something, do it. But no more than 4 million. I can't vote for more than 4 million.
Okay.
That's a lot as it is.
Mrs. Beard?
So for me, it would be option B. My big points was I wanted the librarian and the counselor, and as well, with math being a big concern, I would look to consolidate librarians in some way to be able to retain a math person. As long as we are not, again, as long as we're not losing elementary band. As long as we're not losing elementary band. So I would be okay with option B with this caveat.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for your feedback. We appreciate it very much and acknowledge the difficulty of the decisions.
And as well, thank you to the executive team for providing us with new options. Obviously, we will still have next Thursday to discuss further and keep going until we finalize this. But we appreciate your patience, and we know that this is what you're tasked with, it's what we've asked you for. And as Mrs. Johnson has said, in print, things can look a lot different. I say that many times perception sometimes is greater than reality for people. The perception is you're just saying, cut this stuff, blah, blah, blah. The reality is this is a requirement and requested objective that we have to meet as a board, and we've asked you and tasked you with doing so. So let's continue the positivity. Going into information items, first, are we done with that discussion and we can move on? I don't want to overlook anything. Okay, thank you. We do have an executive session for purposes of negotiations at the end of this. So I'm looking for our roundtable remarks when we get there to be limited, if you don't mind. So a Trojan man with information, Mrs. Oakley, for information items, I don't want to overlook. I know I might have mentioned it before, but
Our June monthly meeting notice is attached.
thank you. Mr. Amato.
Is this for Am I talking about information now?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
thank God, I get to talk about something that is nice and pleasant. So, the Trojan Man coloring book, this is the 4th edition. This edition promotes our career technical education programs. And I will say that for a non-paid position, Mr. Woodley, who is the mentor of the Trojan Man, does an outstanding job of preparing young people for many of the challenges that they have to meet in life. So the perception of mascot going to a game and jumping up and down and getting everybody to cheer, that's nice, but our Trojan Man is much beyond that. They are involved in a lot of civic services, involved in engagement in supporting causes. On a very regular basis, Trojan Men go out and participate in fundraisers for things like autism awareness, pediatric cancer research. So Trojan Man, I think, is definitely a reason for us to say proud to be from Pottstown.
He also helps out at Trunk or Treat with Mr. Armato. Just want you to bring it to that picture. Okay.
Can I just add a note to that? Mr. Woodley and I graduated together.
Oh, wow.
Oh, very good. Thank you very much for return on investment. That's Mr. Woodley. Thank you.
And Mr. Rodriguez with recognition.
Yes. Members of the board, you will notice the file attachment we have for many years received the Music Education Award. It is my intention to keep winning it. But we did this year, and it's an honor, and I just wanted to acknowledge that a month earlier than we did last year.
Thank you. Federation remarks, and thank you for your patience.
And I'll give a shout out to Mr. Woodley too. Anytime you ask him for help with the Trojan Man, he is always willing to give his time. So I'd also add a little shout out to him too. Good evening, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Sarah, it's my turn to be here, but Sarah wanted me to mention some stuff going on at the high school. They're having a fun day on the 22nd for seniors, their last day of school. There's a talent show in the morning, and in the afternoon is field day in which all grades can participate. She also wanted us to mention that graduation practice starts in 7 days. Graduation is Thursday, May 29th, and our students get to celebrate their accomplishments and look towards the future. And at the same time, that's what you all are doing. And that's what we're doing as a school and a community, making decisions that affect the here and now and the future. So the school board currently is faced with a very difficult decision on how to balance the budget while continuing to provide students with a quality education that they deserve. And while this is no easy task, it is important to recognize that there are ways to save money without cutting essential programs that directly impact students' learning, growth, and well-being. Just 2 days ago, Beth and I traveled to Harrisburg to advocate for equitable public school funding and to call attention to the lack of meaningful progress in following the landmark fair funding lawsuit. Despite the court's clear ruling that Pennsylvania's current funding system is unconstitutional, little has been done to fix the deep disparities that continue to harm students, especially those in underfunded districts like ours. Now more than ever, constituent voices matter. It's crucial that community members speak up at both local and state levels. Contact your legislators, call, text, write, email, and urge them to support Governor Shapiro's proposed educational budget. They must live up to their constitutional obligation to provide a free and appropriate public education for every student in the Commonwealth. We also need real reform and accountability in cyber charter school funding. These schools are not held to the same academic or financial standards as our traditional public schools, yet they receive significant tax dollars. That funding imbalance must be addressed to ensure fairness and to protect the resources that our local schools desperately need. In the In the spirit of collaboration, the Federation of Pottstown Teachers will be submitting cost-cutting ideas to the administration and the school board for consideration. Proposals aimed at preserving vital student programs while finding more responsible ways to manage spending. Our students can no longer wait. Let's make sure they're not the ones who pay the price for legislative inaction. Together, we must fight for fair and fully funded public school education. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Roundtable, Ms. Cantiana.
I didn't make eye contact.
I am not Nate. No, I'm just kidding.
I have a couple things. There's positive to start off is the sports school fiscals are coming up. I always love seeing how many people line up to get those. It's very convenient for the students. They all seem to take advantage of it, which is great. I also wanted to comment on the best Communities for School Award and how difficult that's going to be with one less teacher. And my last thing is I am not a stand-up comedian, so I think my joke didn't land. I don't really have favorites. I don't hang out with these people. It was supposed to be a joke. I don't think it was taken quite that way. But I picked the people I picked because I thought they represented the board well. They represent the board well in the community, in the spaces that I see them. And that's why I made that decision. Thank you.
Thank you. And my reference to not being Nate, I don't know if there is a comedian named Nate Jackson. And if you make eye contact with him, then he can
I've seen him, yeah.
jokes against you. But if you don't and you look away, then he will skip over you. So that was my reference to that. So that's what I'm saying. Ms. Spence.
Reminder to the community, May 20th is primary election. And I will turn 37, meaning 37 years I participated in elections. I started voting at 18, I'm 55 years old. And I started voting when I was 18. And that's a really responsible thing to do, in my opinion, to vote every year. Because every year is an election, I don't think people realize that. So I'm excited about that, and God willing, you know, I have a 40th anniversary of voting in 3 more years. God willing, you know, all praises due that I'm still here in 3 more years. So I'm excited about that. It's a pride that I wear, that I, you know, participate in civic duty. And I think there is, people present community in different ways. And I think there's a diversity of how folks represent community or present communities. Always a diversity of voices, ideas, not just color, right? Diversity is mixed in with so many different things, different perspectives. And I really dislike that this board is so restricted down to just a small few that participate on a regular basis in this space. But I did get this coloring book many weeks ago, maybe a week ago. And I did see John, I colored him, made him a black man. And I like this color. First of all, I love that someone bought 2 of these for me. I read it, I've been coloring in it. I use it when I'm in Zoom meetings, like, you know, and it's also good art therapy and stuff like that. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Mr. Armato.
Okay. Wow. Two items, actually 3 items. First, as Mrs. Hospodor alluded to, our latest trip to Harrisburg to advocate for fair funding, I would like to, in addition to thanking her and Mrs. Yoder for for representing the Federation there. Mr. Rodriguez and Mrs. Johnson are two of the strongest advocates in Harrisburg for fair funding and for our schools. And their voice is heard. They have access to some people sometimes that I think others do not, and they advocate very strongly for us, and I appreciate that at all levels. Today, at Rupert Elementary School, and when I work my way around to it and hope not to cut off any of their heads in any of the pictures that I take, which, by the way, just to backtrack for a second, I did get a picture of Mercedes at Harrisburg, and I can assure you, I didn't cut her head off. So today at Rupert, they had an unbelievably interesting and educational exercise for the students, which they call the Wax Museum. And it is an exercise in research, reading, writing, speaking. Students select somebody in history, whether it is in government, whether it is in entertainment, sports, whatever. They select that as their person, and then they research that person, write up a little bio on that person, and then they come to the all-purpose room and they all line up like they are wax statues. And when you go to their statue and you press their button, they tell you the biographical history of that individual. And if you talk about engaging students in meaningful education and promoting all of those things, like in that one little exercise, they had to do research, they had to read, they had to write, they had to speak. It was absolutely fascinating. The last item that I will report on that we've talked about a little bit already today was we did senior awards earlier this week and gave out tens of thousands of dollars. Up on the stage as presenters, I counted, I believe, a dozen Pottstown High School alumni, and I'm always, whenever I see that, I'm always given to think about return on our investment. Those 12 people came back, they helped to donate thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. And as I looked at that group, I believe if I counted correctly, 4 of them teach in our school district, and 1 of them is a principal in our school district. So I'd say, as we're talking about budget and the unbelievable challenges that we're going to have, we're getting our money's worth. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, me. Congratulations to the class of 2025. Hopefully you have good weather for an outdoor graduation ceremony, and I hope, like last year, we can get the majority, if not all of us, to attend. I know that made Stephen happy last year.
Made me very happy.
Thank you. Mr. Hilton.
So we're gonna vote on a tentative budget next Thursday, is that correct?
That's correct.
And what I heard tonight, and you can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, I heard a B, a B, a B, a B, a B, and a B. And an A that probably would be a B to go along with everybody else. So the only no, fine, is Mrs. Kansianik and Mr. Amato.
Yeah, I don't know that I would necessarily care. Yeah, okay.
Okay, but it only takes 5 to pass a budget.
I got you. You're good.
So I'm just saying, fairness to our administrators, and we talk about all kinds of possibilities. We have 2 administrators who get a job anywhere. Give us 2 months' notice and you're gone. It's not like you'd have a hard time, either of you have a hard time. And we need to respect our administrators enough to not keep saying, well, try this and try that. They've tried a lot of stuff, they've given us a lot of information. So I heard 6 Bs, and I'm just hoping that next week, oh, no, because we have to pass budget. Okay, that's my bit.
Thank you. Mrs. Johnson? Leaving
You
you.
got-
No, I don't have anything anyway. I'm
Oh.
following the president's
Why you,
order.
why you
I
saying
never get a summary there. I always
Y'all
go
so
back and
fake
forth.
and phony.
Go ahead, Mrs. Johnson.
Okay.
Mrs. Johnson.
Okay, so, I also want to say, yeah, I know it's more work to put together budgets, and I really do respect the work that goes into that. But I also respect board members wanting more information because these are programs that impact our students, their jobs. So I appreciate that the board and the administration has been taking their time to try to work through all of our options. On the side of advocacy, I will not repeat all of the many good words that have already been said. I do want to say that having asked for and received, thank you, information about, and the whole board got information about the impact should the state actually live up to their obligation to fully fund us and to pass charter reform, the impact that would make in future years on our budget is incredibly, incredibly helpful. It does not solve all the problems, nor do I believe that we should count on getting everything that we are due. However, I do want to say that as we move forward, as we make some tough decisions this year, as we do wait and see on some of those decisions, as we look in future years at the need to possibly make additional cuts, should things not go well at the state level, the fact is that if the state did their job, we would be in a far better position, not careening toward a fiscal cliff. So I just want to add to that to say the community needs to know that this could have a real and lasting impact on our programs if we get charter reform and the amount of funding, the amount of increase the state gave us last year, they're supposed to be giving us for the next 7 years, and they did last year. If they continue that, it has an incredible impact. It's not just a little bit, it's a lot.
Thank you. Mr. Klein?
Nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Lawrence, I have the final word. I think you should use it.
I think I should use it?
Yes.
No, I do appreciate the extra work that they put into it. Like I said, there's still a couple of things I'm concerned about, but it's certainly better, so I will say that. And yay to my early college students. They're always great. I love them all so much, and it's been an honor to have them in class, and so, yeah.
All right. Mr. Williams.
Official invitation for graduation. Mark your calendars, Thursday, May 29th, 6:14 p.m. If you're interested, just let me know.
I'm not gonna be, I'm gonna be out of town.
Okay, no problem. Have a great trip.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to say thank you to our executive team. Thank you to our staff. Congratulations to our students and the parents for their efforts. And hopefully next week we can have some preliminary budget passed. So if anyone doesn't have any other communication, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.